In the early years of the Soviet Union, few names carried as much weight as Nikolai Bukharin. A brilliant Marxist theorist, a leading Bolshevik, and a rising star of the party, Bukharin was admired both at home and abroad. Western observers praised his intellect and eloquence. His writings were widely read, influencing socialist thinkers across the globe. Bukharin's career soared in the 1920s. He helped shape economic policy, advocated for a more gradual approach to collectivization, and became a trusted voice among the party's intellectual elite. Even Stalin, at the time, recognized his brilliance, though admiration would not protect him forever. Bukharin's prominence was double-edged. In a dictatorship, visibility and influence were dangerous. The higher you rose, the more likely you were to draw the dictator's suspicion. Stalin was consolidating power, eliminating rivals, and growing increasingly paranoid. Any independent thinker, any influential voice, no matter how loyal, could be labeled an enemy. Bukharin's ideas, his popularity, his international reputation, all these made him a potential threat in the eyes of the man who demanded absolute obedience. And so, the seeds of his downfall were quietly planted long before the NKVD would come knocking. Nikolai Bukharin, the bright star of the Bolsheviks, was about to enter a world where brilliance was dangerous, loyalty counted for nothing, and the shadow of Stalin stretched long and lethal. By the mid-1930s, the world that had once celebrated Nikolai Bukharin was changing. Stalin's grip on the Soviet Union tightened, and dissent, even subtle disagreement, became dangerous. Bukharin had opposed the rapid industrialization and forced collectivization policies that Stalin imposed. He argued for caution, for a balanced approach to economic reform. But in Stalin's eyes, caution was disloyalty, and independent thought was a threat. Gradually, Bukharin was pushed aside. He was removed from key positions, his influence diminished, his speeches scrutinized for counter-revolutionary ideas. Colleagues who once admired him grew distant, either out of fear of association or pressure from Stalin's loyalists. Even those closest to him hesitated to speak openly. Rumors swirled. Whispers suggested that a single misstep could lead to arrest. And in Stalin's Soviet Union, rumors were enough. Bukharin understood the danger. He could sense the eyes of the NKVD upon him, the unseen forces gathering in silence. Yet, he continued his work, publishing and writing, trying to navigate a system where loyalty offered no safety. What Bukharin did not know, and what no one could escape, was that Stalin had decided. Brilliance, fame, and loyalty meant nothing. In the shadow of absolute power, even the most devoted Bolshevik could be marked for death. Nikolai Bukharin, once a star of the revolution, now walked a perilous path. One misstep, one accusation, one fabricated charge, and the machinery of Stalin's terror would strike. And strike it would, with precision and brutality that left no escape. It was the winter of 1937. Nikolai Bukharin, once a celebrated Bolshevik and theorist, was abruptly arrested by the NKVD. No warning, no explanation. A knock at the door, and the life of a revolutionary hero would be forever changed. Bukharin was led away in secrecy, disappearing from public life almost instantly. He was taken to a cold, dimly lit cell, one of the many secret prisons where Stalin's enemies were broken. often beyond recognition. Here, interrogation was a weapon. The NKVD used psychological torment and physical intimidation to extract confessions to crimes that never occurred. Sleep deprivation, threats to family, isolation. Each day a carefully calculated assault on mind and spirit. Bukharin was pressured to admit to treason, espionage, and conspiracy, allegations fabricated by Stalin's loyalists. Every word, every pause, every hesitation was twisted into evidence of guilt. Even a man of Bukharin's intellect and composure could not resist the relentless machinery of fear. The interrogators worked with precision. False evidence was presented. Confessions were rehearsed. The goal was simple: destroy the man and terrorize all who might question Stalin's absolute authority. In the cold, shadowed corridors of Stalin's secret prisons, Bukharin was no longer a brilliant theorist. He was a prisoner of the dictator's paranoia, a symbol of how even loyalty and talent could not protect one from execution. And beyond these walls, the machinery of terror continued its work, silently claiming lives across the Soviet Union. In 1938, Nikolai Bukharin was thrust into the trial of the 21, one of Stalin's most notorious show trials. He faced charges of treason, espionage, sabotage, and conspiracy, crimes he had never committed. The trial was not a search for truth. It was a performance designed to terrorize the nation and eliminate a potential rival. Bukharin, once a celebrated Bolshevik, was now forced to confess to fabricated crimes. The NKVD had meticulously prepared the case. False evidence, coerced statements, and threats that left no room for defiance. The courtroom became a stage where Stalin's paranoia was broadcast to all. Each word of the confession was rehearsed, each gesture scrutinized. Despite the pressure, Bukharin showed remarkable composure. He defended his beliefs with dignity, but even that could not save him. In Stalin's Soviet Union, appearances of loyalty were irrelevant. Power demanded obedience, not truth. The verdict was predetermined. Bukharin was found guilty and sentenced to death, alongside many of his colleagues. The trial served as a warning. No one, regardless of status, intellect, or fame, was untouchable. The show trial was more than punishment. It was spectacle, propaganda, and terror rolled into one. Bukharin's execution was inevitable, and the entire process was meant to instill fear, obedience, and submission in the hearts of the Soviet people. Stalin's shadow stretched across the nation, crushing dissent before it could even rise. In March 1938, Nikolai Bukharin, once a brilliant Bolshevik and theorist admired around the world, was executed in secrecy at the Butovo firing range. No announcement, no public mourning. His body was buried in an unmarked mass grave. Stalin's regime did not merely kill Bukharin, it sought to erase him from history. Photographs were removed from archives. Publications vanished. His name, once celebrated, was scrubbed from memory in the Soviet Union. Bukharin's execution was not an isolated act. It was part of a systematic purge that targeted intellectuals, party officials, military leaders, and ordinary citizens. The secret prisons and firing ranges were silent theaters of terror, claiming tens of thousands of lives. The message was clear. In Stalin's Soviet Union, no loyalty, no fame, no genius could shield you. Obedience was demanded. paranoia was weaponized, and dissent, real or imagined, was punished with death. Nikolai Bukharin's fate is a stark reminder of Stalin's absolute cruelty. A man celebrated abroad, a brilliant mind of his generation, disappeared into the shadows of a dictator's paranoia. His story, and the thousands like his, left behind a chilling legacy, a nation ruled by fear, where secret executions silenced voices, shattered families, and corrupted every corner of society. In Stalin's world, the prisons were silent, but their echoes of terror would last for generations.